Forgot to press a button. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Horse Center. Tonight, as you see, Shawn lost a lot of weight. Nope. Wait a minute. That is a special guest filling in for my man, Shawn. Ty Kennedy. Ty, how are you?
Good, Rich. How you doing tonight?
Good. And by the way, this is the cowboy version of Ty Kennedy. A few minutes ago, we had the baseball version.
This is a special request for our special guest today. There's really no introduction needed for this guy, I don't think. Over 5,500 wins in a career, over 191 million in purse earnings. This guy he's everybody's favorite guy to be around. I don't really think there's a bad thing to say about him. I'm talking about the man, the myth, the legend, Jersey Joe Bravo. Joe Bravo, how you doing tonight, my man?
After that introduction, I'm like speechless, bro. Come on, me and you are boys, you know? I mean, now you got me all nervous and shy. You don't know
Joe
how many
Bravo's
stories
never
me and
shy.
Yeah, me and Ty, we have a lot of good stories together. So anytime he hollers, yo, you got me, boy. You good.
Yeah, we appreciate you, man. Like I said, we're really happy to have you on the show. Gosh, how's California?
California's good. They have a little break right now. I've been at Santa Anita all summer, but you notice they just got done last week. So they almost have like 5 weeks before Del Mar starts. So we're kind of taking like a working vacation. And at the moment, bro, let me tell you how good you are. You won't believe what I just left. I was probably one of the nicest restaurants in Atlantic City with the two prettiest girls. And I just left the restaurant to be on your phone call. I swear to God.
Well, hey, consider us honored.
Well, aren't we two of the most handsome guys? He can't see us. He doesn't have a video on.
Yeah, I'm going to keep the image off.
It's probably not a bad thing. So, sorry to interrupt you, Ty. Go ahead.
No, you're all right. So, Joe, you've definitely had a very successful career, one could say. Can you kind of fill us in? How did you exactly get started in riding, and ultimately, how did you become Jersey Joe Bravo?
If you want to rewind, you got a little bit of time. I mean, it's kind of a crazy story. My father was a jockey. My grandfather was a jockey. But my parents kind of divorced when I was 11 years old, and I went to Texas.
Okay.
Yeah, so I started riding match races in Texas. It was kind of big at that time, you know? And you won't believe how I rode my first race.
I'm interested to hear this.
It was a match race of quarter horses. And all of a sudden I heard my father says, you know what? And my son is riding the horse. I was like, what? I was 12 years old. I'm like, what? And we broke out the gates. The horse won, and I opened my eyes, and race was over. At 12 years old, I got thrown into a match race. But,
well, at least you didn't fall off.
Yeah, no, it was like hold on for life. And I think the bottom line of the story is good horses will make you look good. I'm so thankful in this whole job is just to be sitting on good stock, you know? You got to have good people behind you.
Well, that is one of the biggest keys in this game, but it seems like for the most of your career, you've always had that support, and you've done really, really well and always capitalized on the good horses that you have had. So, you know, it goes into, yes, you got to have the horse and the connections, but you also got to be the rider to get them home. And it seems like always at the top level, you're always winning greatest stakes somewhere every weekend. So congratulations to that. And like I said, you're one guy that I've always looked up to.
Nah, we got to be good friends down riding in New Orleans that winter down there. And, you know, Ty, it's a tough game. Every time I've been hurt, the only thing that brought you to the level to get you back into it is having good people put you on good horses. Like, it's so important when you're injured and you're on the shelf. They never know how you're going to come back. And, you know, I kind of like did a lot of homework every time I was injured to make sure your first horse that you ride is kind of drag you around there. I mean, when you get to a level that you're riding at, like everybody's riding at, it's a fine line. It just takes the good horse that kind of like fights through there.
Right. So one good horse that you have ridden, and you know, it kind of give you that one elusive win that kind of seemed to get by most of your career, and I'm talking about a Breeders' Cup win, Blue Prize 2019 Distaff. If you could just tell us a little bit about her and just kind of what it was like to finally get that Breeders' Cup win.
Yeah, I'm gonna rewind a little bit. First time I rode her at Keeneland and everything we won, and I ended up winning. It's my fault. I won a grade 1 stake at Keeneland. I can't remember the name of the race, but she like prop and bolted to the middle of the racetrack that day. And I found out that she's just really an aggressive, crazy mare. You just got to stay out of her way. I kind of turned into the lane that afternoon and tried to make her do more than what she wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just trying to read the animal, really, and I did too much on her. I kind of learned to kind of sit back and let her do the running and don't tell her. And
Isn't that kind of every man-woman relationship? The guy just kind of sits back and just, all right, you want to do it? You just go ahead and do it because I'm just going to cause a fight, right?
So well said. Women say yes or no, and the same thing with horses. They do the same thing, and you just got to stay out of the way. And she got to be a really good one. But the day lead into the Breeders' Cup that afternoon, I was like, man, I'd be happy to run second to Midnight BCU. Be so happy. Midnight BCU is like the big favorite that day, and
Yeah.
just we got lucky.
Well, it's always nice when the stars align, right?
Exactly. You can't make it up before the race. You just kind of try to do the best, do as much homework as you possibly can, and if it's meant to be, it's meant to be.
Well, and that was going to kind of lead into my next question was being a rider of your caliber, like I said, graded stakes almost every weekend and being in the top echelon of the rider colonies throughout the country every year. How does one prepare for, them $1 million races, them grade 1 races and not try to overthink it, but still at the same time do the right amount of homework so that way you feel that you're fully prepared? How do you go about them kind of big race days and race mornings?
It's kind of a fine line of, it's a good question you threw out there. It's kind of a fine line. You want to do a lot of homework. I love looking at the PPs and I look at trouble trips, but not the trouble trip, but I love watching replays. But what's the whole gambler's theory? If you think long, you're going to think wrong. When it comes out there, you got to do what they do, but you just got to know what's supposed to unfold. Like if you see when somebody's out there that's not supposed to be, you got to take all the knowledge, but don't get in the horse's way, right? I mean, you've seen that so many times that you do so much homework, but if you try to overthink it, you're just going to screw up, I mean, they're the real athlete out there,
Exactly right. Sometimes the best way to win is just be a mere passenger and just let them do their thing, just like you said.
Mm-hmm. I mean, my biggest thing is I love to say when a horse is breathing. The minute I get a horse going, when they say give me that breath, I know, okay, this horse is going to give me a kick. When they're working underneath you, it just seems like they're working, right? I mean, they're not going to kick off if they're like, they went like a boxer. A boxer tries to go the first 2 rounds and punch out. They're dead. Yeah. They're not going to. Yeah. The biggest thing I find on a racehorse is get them to turn off. The minute you get them inside themselves and breathing, we could kick off again,
Right.
So, Joe, this is Rich, of the other person that you can't see on there with Ty. Couple questions for you. Obviously, you've been around for a while, but I think one of the greatest things anybody can do in any career is to be recognized by their peers. You've got a couple of those awards. Recently won the George Wolfe Memorial, and also that was out on the West Coast. And then on the East Coast, you won the Mike Venezia Award, also recognized by your peers. So how does that make you feel that your career is recognized by those around you who do what you do?
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to really be honest. I won the Mike Venezia Award. I was so happy. New York did a very nice thing. It was a great presentation, good trophy. I did not realize how important it was when I hit the George Wolfe Award. If you've seen on social media, I kind of put everybody in my shoes. I was on a plane and I'm so cheap, I didn't want to pay for internet. I was flying from Florida back to California and I didn't want to pay for internet. And wow, I says, you know what? I'm going crazy. Let me see what's going on. And I turn on my phone. You won't believe the messages I got of people that I worked with. And it was such a big, it blew my mind. That plane flight really made me sit back and say, okay, all those hard mornings, I didn't want to wake up. It was raining and miserable. You're turning for home and the horse is struggling and you just don't want to do it. It's all worthwhile. It really, really is. And St. Anita, really, they flew my family out to California. I mean, they put a banquet dinner of 50 people at the Derby Steakhouse. I mean, it really just like the whole ambiance of what they did with the award really just went above and beyond.
So that award is obviously a big moment in your career, but maybe it's not the biggest moment in your career. A few years ago, you were hanging out at Gulfstream Park. A couple of guys showed up, Rick Ross and John Legend, and you ended up in a music video. So one of the things we've had a few jockeys do on the show is they were kind enough to sing some lyrics for us. So would you be kind enough to entertain us with some lyrics?
Rick, I'll be real with you. I got street creds. Just because you have street creds don't mean you have to rap, all right? Listen, I'm not going to spit no bars. I'm not going to shine on nobody that I know I can't outdo.
Rich, that's karaoke at about 11 o'clock after a couple drinks.
Well said.
Have you seen karaoke, Ty, with a few drinks in them?
I'm not sure that I'm allowed to release those details to the general public at this time.
That's why I love that's my man right there. If you guys like karaoke this summer at Del Mar, we are bringing back Jockey Karaoke at Del Mar at I forgot the name of the venue, but it's going to happen this summer. So I don't know what's going to go down, but
have you picked the song?
Go down for sure.
Well, no, I haven't. Rick, I'm sorry, I have not picked up a song. Ty, come on, kid, help me in one of them country songs you got.
I always pictured you for more of a Backstreet type of fella, Joe. I mean,
yeah, I don't know about all that. I don't want to age myself.
Wait a minute.
So I'm not gonna. Yeah.
You were born outside of Monmouth Park, New Jersey. You have only one of two choices, Joe. You either have Bruce Springsteen or John Bon Jovi. That's it. You have nothing else to choose from.
No, you're right. They're both great. They're both great.
Absolutely.
So, I know my limitations, so I'm going to stay off of it as little as I can.
Mm-hmm. Maybe you can have one of them two subs. Maybe you can bring one of them in to substitute for you.
That'd be pretty strong.
That would be a strong game out at Del Mar for sure. You know, if you've watched the show before, Joe, I'm not sure if you have or if you haven't, but if you have, every time your name comes up, I always say, you know what, Joe Bravo has to be the most American name I think I've ever heard. Like, absolutely unquestionably. So I was thinking about this, and Captain America, his name is Steve Rogers. So I was thinking about starting a petition. What do you think, Ty, that we petition the folks to do the Captain America movies, change Steve Rogers' name to Joe Bravo?
I mean, it sounds as American as it gets.
What do you think, Joe?
I think Ty might have even heard one of my comments, and I always lean by it when you try to get out of your pants. Listen, you go through life a lot better if you hide in the shadows. Don't be like being bigger than you are. Hide in your shadows. It'll get you further. Life is good, brother. That's it.
Absolutely. So last year you didn't ride at Monmouth because of the whip rules. Now they've changed those whip rules, so you came back to Monmouth. What was the reception like?
Okay, here's another thing. I wish I could put you in my shoes. I was so torn, like, emotions. I didn't know what was going to really go down with Monmouth Park. So last Saturday, I rode my first race day. It was the first race of the day, and there's really, first race, at any race meet, there's not a lot of people. Mm-hmm. I was so shocked. They gave me a leg up on the horse. So I had a couple of fans build up. Joe, good to see you back. By the time I got on the racetrack, I'm going to be 100% honest, I was choked up. I had fucking tears. Can I curse on this show? Can I say that word?
I think Abner Santos kind of ripped the lid off of that last week. So you got about 9 of them. So I
think Joe Bravo can do what he wants, right?
Yeah. That's how emotional I got. By the time I just got onto the race, before they handed my horse to the pony, I was choked up. You should have heard like fans and like people and just like bringing out like personal things. I spent my whole life on the Jersey Shore. And there was like people brought up, Joe, you remember like this, like it was personal things that I went through the years. Just by the time they gave me a leg up and by the time I got to the racetrack, I was like, it was also worth it.
Mm-hmm. So Joe, you've been leading rider there at Monmouth countless times. Obviously the name Jersey Joe Bravo fits, but who was it that actually coined and came up with that name? Was it fans of the track, or did it just kind of fit? Like, how'd that come about?
Ty, great question. I honestly have no idea. Just through the years, I mean, I was born there in Monmouth Medical. That is not a mile away from the racetrack. And it was kind of wild when I first came back, like in this area and everything. I felt at home. I did most of my winters and everything down in Florida.
Right.
So, but there is a lot of good memories around here. They welcomed me in, and it just kind of built through the years. Hey, I'm 50 years old right now. It's a lot of time. It's not an overnight process,
Right.
Mhm.
So you kind of have relocated to more the West Coast the last couple years. Kind of tell us some of the maybe changes and also some of the similarities, because I know as a rider, you go from one circuit, you go to another one. It's almost like a completely different riding style. Some circuits are more speed, some circuits are more favoring the closers. What were some of the challenges going from East Coast to West Coast?
Ty, another great question. As you know, as a rider, you ride
Mhm.
the race similar. You don't try to take yourself out of the ride in the race. You do your homework. You know what's expected in the race. It's really like who you know and what you know, like leading up to that point. A lot of the race is won before you even get on the racetrack. It's trying to get the connections and the horses. One thing I had to really get adapted to out in California is that we don't do on the East Coast is jocks in the East Coast don't really work a lot of horses. Um, they're so limited
Right.
on racing in California that you find yourself working a horse more than they actually run. If you look, it's 3 days a week during the winter time, 8 races in a card. So you really find yourself with more of a personal level with the animal out there in California. I had to find. Here on the East Coast, you just ride races. You don't have to really worry about the preparation, So
That makes a lot of sense, and I never really thought
race.
about it like that.
Are you with us, Joe? It looks like we had a little cellular issue there. I don't hear him. Do you hear him, Ty?
Oh, you got us, Joe?
Nope. I think Joe has gone into a little bit of a non-Verizon dead zone there. So let us know when you can hear us now, Joe.
We'll get him back soon.
Absolutely, 100% for sure. So tell us a little, a story, one of your stories with Joe that you can tell, G-rated, that you're not going to get in trouble for, Ty.
Well, so me and Joe kind of first started really hanging out and getting to know each other, like he said, that year that he was riding there at Fairgrounds. And man, we just kind of clicked, there's never a dull moment with Joe Bravo. Heck, I was sitting at home one night. It was like 8 o'clock at night, and he called me. He said, "Hey, what are you doing?" I said, "Well, nothing." He said, "Let's go to the Pelicans game." I was like, "Well, Joe, it's 8 o'clock. Like, I mean, I'm about ready for bed." "Oh, come on, let's go to the Pelican games." He got a big suite and stuff, and I mean, we just went to the Pelicans game and had a good time.
So it looks like we did lose him altogether there.
Yeah.
Yeah, he popped out of there. So maybe he'll come back in. If he does, we'll bring him back up. If not, we're also prepared to talk about a couple of other things. But tell us a little bit about what's on deck for you. I saw that you recently rode a horse at Horseshoe, Indianapolis. So is that kind of where you're planning on putting your boots, so to speak?
Yeah, I've actually just kind of been taking a little bit of time off, just a couple months recently. We got Joe back now.
Yes, indeed, Joe's back. We lost you for a moment there.
Yeah, I apologize.
We thought maybe the two guys weren't good enough for you, so you went back to the two girls.
Yeah, there was so many more things. Yeah, but honestly, I just lost connection with you guys.
Yeah, I think it was just a little bit of weird cellular stuff. So you were talking a little bit about the more intimate type situation with the horses in California than here on the East Coast.
Yeah, like I say, it's limited of racing out there, so you kind of get a more of a personal feel with the animal, because of workouts leading up to the race. I mean, here in the East Coast, it's kind of nice just to be able to ride races. It really is.
Right. Yep, that makes sense. So now the other question, Santa Anita or Del Mar, which is more suited for Jersey Joe?
I like East Coast. Racing in California is awesome. You know what? There's two, you can't compare. It's almost like apples and oranges.
Yeah.
I mean,
I was always a little more partial of Del Mar just because you had the beach right there.
All right. How many people are going to hear this comment? So
Well,
when
you
I
have
first got
quite
to
a few.
California, I said, "Yeah, it's true. When you get to California, the horses are a little faster, the women are just a little bit taller."
Well, Joe, all the women are taller than we are, ain't they?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, yep.
Little jockey
There's so
humor
much
there.
more that could be said, but we're gonna leave it all alone.
Yeah, well, you could. I mean, we could do that. We can have a show specifically for that. I mean, we do check off the box in YouTube that it's not for kids. So if the kids are here, it's they're doing it on mom and dad aren't watching. So we're not supposed to be babysitting the kids, right?
Well, if they're hearing us, they're definitely watching other stuff on that computer they shouldn't be too.
Well said. Well said.
In all likelihood, either that or they want to grow up to be like you guys, jockeys, right? The other day we had on Jamie Martinez, and she was talking about the jockey life or the track life parties. And I said to her at that time, you just convinced every teenager to become a jockey or get into the track business now that they know that there's this type of party. So are there any parties that you guys been to that stand out that maybe are PG rated that you'd like to share with us?
Rick, I don't know what you're talking about. And neither is Ty. Ty, we don't know nothing, bro.
I was going to say, if there's a jockey party that's PG rated, I have not been to that one.
We're going to leave all that conversation alone.
Hey, you know what? It's good. Sometimes, things are better left to the imagination, right?
Yeah. You know what? You want to talk about jockey lifestyle? You know what's pretty interesting to me? Have you guys ever seen the movie that came out, Jockey?
I have not
I've
yet.
been wanting to see it.
We were so excited to kind of go out and see it. So me and Johnny Velasquez, we were like, okay, we're going to a lunchtime and we're going to go watch this movie. I mean, it got a lot of hype. They say they won a lot of the film festivals and all this stuff. I don't know what jockey they followed. It was so depressing. He never won a race. He was never with a girl. He never had no parties. I was like, oh my God, who could withstand what this man went through? Yeah. So it was just I wish they would have a little bit more better of. It's not all bad things of not being able to eat, working hard, the frustration of not winning, and that's what kind of the movie kind of brought out. And I was kind of I wish they showed the good parts of celebrations. Man, we won some good races for good people.
Right. Kind of sounds like they almost played more the down part of the game versus mixing in the up part too.
Yeah, I mean, there's always two sides to the story, and man, I would not have went through that jockey went through. Oof,
the horse racing version of The Wrestler, huh?
Yeah, kind of exactly. Yeah. Mickey Rourke was great in that.
So, Black Diamond Bay says, if Joe could ride any horse ever, who would it be?
I mean, if we're gonna have to do stuff not in our air, Secretariat is in everybody's mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, it looked like anybody could sat on him, and that's what this game's about: is having so much horsepower underneath you. It just makes it fun.
That is true. Like I said, when you got the horse, anything's possible. All you got to do is just give them the right seam, stay out of their way, and just let them do what they're trained to do.
If you had to equate yourself to any other athlete in any other sport, and I've said to that, and maybe you'll disagree or agree with me on this, Joe, and you as well, Ty. To me, the best, I think, comparison in sports to a jockey is a running back in the NFL. Obviously not because of size, but because a running back has to know, the great ones have to know where the hole is going to be and not where it is. Would you guys both say that is accurate?
I'd say 100% yes. And that's one of the things that, Joe is very, very good at, and you can just watch the races that he rides as well as, some other big name riders. It seems like they're 2 moves ahead of their competition. And ultimately, that is what can win you a race or get you beat. And in those big race situations, the $1 million races, those grade ones, you have to adapt and you have to see what somebody else is going to do before they do it. And, that's one of the things that Joe has done, 5,553 times and been successful with it.
Absolutely. So Charles B wants to know, and I have a feeling there's some insight to this, so maybe I'm wrong, but I'm guessing. He says, ask Joe if he knows that a horse is claimed before the race starts. So it sounds to me like there's an inside joke in there somewhere.
I try not to mess with the claiming game too much, so I really don't know. I mean, we always try to ride for stake horses. Not really. I mean, I don't know.
So you don't know beforehand?
Not really, no, because we leave the paddock and the claims are done before we get to the starting gate.
Well, I misread the question. Sorry, totally, Charles. Sorry. Charles is a regular here. I thought maybe there was some like inside communication, or that you guys had some little bit of fun history together. So maybe I misunderstood.
Yeah, no. So kind of how that claiming deal works is, I mean, for a rider, you know, we just literally just get dressed in the room, go out to the paddock, shake hands, get up, and then we go to the gates. So we don't actually know who's getting claimed. We don't know the tag, like we don't know any of that. How many's in on the shake? We're ignorant to all of that. That all kind of goes on in the office behind the scenes, and I think every jockey would prefer that because it just leaves us out of everything. Less that we know, sometimes the better.
Mm-hmm.
Well said. I mean, really, the claiming game in my eyes, it's like playing poker. You see so many guys are trying to play moves, but you know what gets my thrill is like the big horses trying to make it. I always tell my agents, I don't want to win races. I want to be on TV. I want the horse that's going to bring me to the big show. I mean, and that's what you got to look for. But the claiming game is more like a poker game, and you're trying to like grind it out. You find the grinders, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that is true.
So Mayberry has a question for you, Ty. He says, this is Lou Garfield. Which track would you love to ride on, and which trainer would you love to ride for? The trainer question is probably one of those you don't want to touch, I would guess.
You know, I've actually been pretty fortunate throughout my career. I've been at a lot of really nice racetracks, both Santa Anita, Del Mar, Churchill, Keeneland. Kind of the one track that I really would like to go to is Saratoga. I've never ventured up that way before, but I would like to ride at Saratoga. I guess trainers. Oof. I've had the opportunity to ride for some pretty good trainers too, Hall of Fame trainers as well. You know, I guess I'd like to ride one for Fletcher at some point. I know that Joe's ridden some good horses for Todd before, but it seems like that man has a lot of horses, and they're all good horses. You know, they're all high quality horses. So that kind of seems like a stable that you really can't go wrong with.
So, Joe, the next stop for you is back out to California. When you heading out west?
I'm here to July 10th. I might have to stay for some stake races on July 12th, but I'll be flying back at west. I have to be in Texas July 16th. I'm understanding there's some stake races at Lone Star I'll be back to, but I'm getting ready geared up for July 22nd, opening day at Del Mar.
Yeah, certainly that's a lot of fun. What's similar? I mean, since the Monmouth track is basically a ocean track, and Del Mar is an ocean track. They're both close to the shore. Are there any similarities between Del Mar and Monmouth that kind of helped you when you went from one to the other?
You know what? This is a good handicap and angle that whoever's gambling at Monmouth Park, and I've kind of lived my whole life by it. It's so close to the shore that it goes by the tides.
Mm-hmm.
So when we were talking, I think it was to Maggie. I'm sorry, you were kind of clicked out again, Joe.
Oh, yeah. Can you hear me now?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, so it's kind of like Monmouth Park. If you look at the first race, the racetrack is very pale. It means it's dried out and like cuppy. But if you go into later races, more moisture from the tides of the ocean come in, and it gets hard and fast. I thought I would use that same play out in California, even though they're closer to the ocean. It's not like that. They don't have the tides that the Jersey Shore has.
Yeah, I think Maggie Rowland told us that as well about Tampa Bay Downs, that pay attention to the tides as well, because she said that the same thing, depending upon the tide, the track plays differently. I think it was in fast, out slow. Is that right? Or do I have it backwards?
No, you're right. When the tides are out, it's like you see there's no moisture on the racetrack, so it's deeper. But when the tides are in, it's like you can see the darker surface. And man, it's you know.
That's a good, interesting handicapping angle that folks, probably 99.9% of the folks don't, probably wouldn't even think about putting in there. I know I certainly didn't think about it until it came up regarding Tampa Bay Downs. So, well, we do appreciate you coming along tonight, Joe. Ty, you got any final questions before we let him get back to having more fun that he had with us?
No, I think we've taken up enough of Joe's time. I just want to say, Joe, thank you very much for coming along. Always good to talk to you, man. Keep them between the fences, keep them upright, stay safe, and keep on doing your thing. Like I said, 50 years old and you're still banging with the rest of them and riding at a high level. So, wish nothing but continued success for you, and just keep doing your thing, brother.
Ty, you're the best. I always love riding with you, man. Can't wait till the next time.
Yes,
Thanks
sir.
for coming, Joe. Have a great evening.
Have a great night, guys.
Bye-bye. I thought that never mind. I was going to crack a joke there, but I thought that when you said keep banging, I thought you were going to go somewhere else with that. But the good thing you did.
Well, I mean, with Joe, it could go either way.
Well, I was like, wait a minute. Do I have to hit the mute button?
No.
Just kidding. Of course, we just joke. We have some fun around here. All right. So Ty, probably some of the biggest news this week, horse racing related, not necessarily about the horses themselves, is that Bob Baffert's suspension comes to an end on July the 3rd. So he's going to be back. It looks like Monmouth Park, maybe the Haskell's, the first big graded stakes race after he gets back. So, this whole thing about Bob Baffert, I don't want to be accused of being, one of those folks that's like a Bob Baffert groupie or anything like that, but it certainly does seem to me like the whole world in horse racing was mad at him for a reason. What do you think?
Well, I think you're 100% right. It seemed like it didn't matter what day it was or what he did. There was always some headline about him, and 90% of them were bad headlines, which it seems like he gets done with one suspension and he's rolling right into another one, or he's getting a new one from New York or here. I mean, it just seems like I'm not sure how a guy ever gets out of the hole that either he dug himself or somebody dug for him. I mean, it's just kind of crazy. I wouldn't want to be in his shoes, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think, but I got to suspect he's going to come back, and man, is he going to have a chip on his shoulder. What do you think?
Well, that's the thing. All of his horses have been spread out to other people, and, some people have said, well, they haven't done as good since they've left Bob or this or that or whatever, but I think whether you're Bob Baffert or you're a $10,000 dollar claiming guy, when you're off for that long and all of your horses do go with other people, I think it's got to be extremely difficult to hit the ground running right off the bat when you get back, because now you're getting all your horses back, but now they got to get back into your program. They got to, and that stuff takes a while. And it takes a long time for a horse to go from one program to another, because everything's changing. The feed's changing, their routine's changing, and some of them pick it up, handle it well. Some of them take a little bit more time. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how Bob plays this and how he puts his horses in what races moving forward in the first 2 months.
You have to imagine it felt really good for him when Country Grammar beat Life is Good overseas. I wonder, I'd love to ask him that question, like how did that feel? But it looks like New York's not having the love, though, because they came out today, and was it today, June 23rd? No, a couple of days ago.
That's a couple of days ago.
Yeah, and well, for me, it feels like yesterday. It feels like today. They all bleed from one into the next. You probably have the same feeling. But yeah, Bob Baffert suspended for the next 7 months by NYRA. Absolutely no ability to go appeal it. They just said you're out. Obviously, Churchill Downs says no riding for 2 years at Churchill Downs. So do you think other tracks are going to follow suit, or do you think there's going to be some tracks that are going to be welcoming to somebody who has, for better or worse, the reputation of Bob Baffert?
There'll always be some track here or there, that welcome somebody in, just because you're suspended in one jurisdiction. I mean, racetracks kind of stay hungry, If they're going to kick a guy out like that, well, you can come over here. We'll help you get over here, whatever, just because they'll think that it'll help bring them up. And sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I don't think the New York deal is going to be as big of a deal for Baffert, just because Bob really never went to New York a whole lot. Like he'd send in for some big stakes at Saratoga or the Belmont, but he never really kept any horses there. So I don't think that's going to be as big of a suspension for him as what maybe some people think. I think he'll be just fine with it.
So I think maybe he's going to become kind of the personification. Bad news, good news, it doesn't matter as long as my name is in the news.
Well, they say that any publicity is good publicity, but he might differ with you on that now.
He might, yes, for sure. So, we've talked a lot about his. So you're in the business, so that's going to impact you a lot more than it impacts me. But this stuff is going to start in what, 4 or 5 days, the HISA, and I don't know. Did you fill out your paperwork?
No, I have not done anything yet, and the only reason why I haven't is because we just learned about this whole deal about 5 weeks ago, and they basically said that this is what you're going to do. If you don't do it, well, you can't ride, you can't do this. But then we would ask them questions. Okay, well, can we do this, or what does this rule mean? And well, they didn't know any of that. They had no answers. They had no explanations. So it's hard for me to sell my soul to an authority, as they put it, when they can't answer their own rules. They can't answer their own questions. They have no idea what any of that means. So I feel like it's not really the blind leading the blind, but it's definitely the blind leading the horseman into a wall. And I just, there's a lot of things that need to get ironed out, and it should be delayed, in my opinion, until, okay, these are going to be our rules. This is what this means. But if you look in the headlines, every other day it's changing. Okay, well, this rule not going to go into effect till April or August. This one's not till January. Well, we're still working on this one. We'll get back to you on this one. So come July 1st, what are we really doing here?
So in other words, it's another government bureaucity, just like I
well,
feared it would
exactly
become.
what it is. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. But you got to do it for your safety, though.
You know? So, Shawn and I talk about HISA a lot, and from the beginning, I am I grew up in the 80s, right? So,
right.
And when I grew up in the 80s, it was, Ronald Reagan, the worst words you can hear is the government knocking on the door, I'm here to help, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it was a whole different kind of era back then than what we live in today. So a lot of our generation kind of grew up skeptical of
right.
the government, so to speak. And you see, firsthand, go to the Department of Motor Vehicles, right? Go there, or go to some company that's privately run like Starbucks and see where you get better service. It's unquestionable where you're going to get better service. I was always of the thought that I don't need another human being to tell me what to do, because I know what I'm supposed to do. And I know that some people need help. That's completely different story. My thinking was, I can't understand for the life of me. Like Shawn pointed out, NYRA, Churchill, all the track organizations, the big ones out in California, when Bob got suspended by one, they had no problem coming together and agreeing on a uniform policy towards Bob Baffert. But when it comes to racing, the same group of people can't get together from the big track. So if Kentucky, New York, Florida, California, Oaklawn Park, all of these folks, the Stronach group, got together and said, these are the rules that the main tracks are going to abide by, and all the other tracks have to abide if they ever want to see their horses run here, or any of the jockeys want to ride here. I felt like every other small track would fall in line, and it wouldn't be as costly. It wouldn't be such a heavy-handed approach. And I can't understand for the life of me, and you're in the business, so why do you think that these groups can't just get together like Vince McMahon did with all the different wrestling federations, get them together under one roof and just have like a common set of rules?
And that concept, which kind of started this whole HISA stuff, the concept itself is great. All right, everybody follow the same set of rules. Everybody's going to follow this guideline, that guideline, whatever, just like you said. Like I said, concept is great. The way that they're going about it's not. But if every racetrack would just take it upon themselves to collaborate with each other, then yes, we would not be in the situation that we're in. But I think that it's such a dog-eat-dog business world that, sadly, just like anything, if one person's misfortune can be a benefit to somebody else, then they capitalize on it instead of coming together and fixing a problem. All right, we have a problem in our industry. This is happening. How can we all come together to fix it? Well, then some people might be pointing a finger. Oh, they're doing that, but we're over here, we're good, bet more on us, or whatever. So it's nice thought to just say that, yes, let's all help each other out. And I think that's the way that it should be. Everybody help each other, further the business, move forward. But at the end of the day, like I said, it's dog eat dog. And if somebody's kind of sometimes falling down, then somebody else is going to capitalize on that, sadly.
Mm-hmm. Well, I understand that the tracks aren't setting the rules, but it's the tracks that invited the government in. If I understand that correctly, they're not filling out the HISA. The language within it is ridiculous and not practical. That's what we're hearing from a lot of folks, man. I'm hearing from a lot of people that they're not interested in. I think it's a handful of states that are actually suing HISA because they say it violates their states' rights, which is another interesting story there as well. All this is going to play out in the courts, I feel like, before we get some kind of finalized version. What are you hearing on the ground?
Yeah, so I know that Texas obviously was very outspoken against them. I know that West Virginia, I think, was another one that either has a lawsuit still or is doing something. But and then the National HBPA, I know that they filed suit too. And I want to say that the last that I heard, the HBPA case was going to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. But I think that's been like a week or so ago that I heard about that. But I know that the guild and the jockeys and everybody's been kind of tight on this as far as really trying to push and trying to basically save our livelihoods and kind of the way that we do things, because like you said, it's just more government overreach. And the problem is that there's really not a lot of horse experience on that board, and certainly no racehorse experience or backside experience at all. I mean, you tell them to go put a halter on a horse, I don't think that they could. So that's
I
kind
couldn't
of
either, but I'm not trying to tell you how to do it though either.
Well, exactly, and that's kind of the scary part, and that's why I think that a lot of the trainers specifically, as well as jockeys and owners, are having a hard time with this. Because I mean, would you go to your heart surgeon and tell them how to do open heart surgery? No, because you don't know how to do it. But then we got people now telling us how we need to perform our jobs, what's safe for these horses, what's not safe for them. Well, realistically, they have no idea. I mean, you got some trainers back here that have been training for 50 years. How are you going to tell that trainer what they don't know about a horse? You're not going to do it. I mean, they know a horse inside and out.
You're right about this, that every major sports has a board and a commissioner. So does horse racing. Every state has a horse racing board. Yeah. It's not unique. To me, horse racing right now, the way it's structured is similar to boxing. And that boxing each has a state commission, and the state commission determines how the boxing matches, who can run, who can box, who can't box, the rules that are going to govern the boxing matches and so forth. It's not uniform in boxing from East Coast to West Coast, from the Canadian border to the Mexican border to Alaska or Hawaii. Each one is a little bit different. So I see this the same as too. The NFL is certainly not regulated by the federal government. As far as I know, neither is Major League Baseball, neither is the NBA, or any of the pro sports are regulated by the federal government. They may have, like the NFL has, some antitrust agreements that allow for them to not have, some serious competition and all. But this is going to be the first major sport that really the federal government is involved from head to toe, telling folks what to do. And I just feel like, the history of those sorts of things, I think at best in the beginning is going to be very rough, and then maybe over time it kind of flattens out, and then it'll probably end up not too far away from where it is today anyway.
Well, I know that some people have expressed the concerns that maybe they're trying to make horse racing almost like NASCAR, to where you have just a couple tracks run, just maybe some weekend races, big races here or there every other weekend, whatever, and that's it. And because a lot of them seem to express concern that there's underlying deals with this HISA, and PETA obviously being one of them. Well, PETA's been very vocal about getting rid of horse racing from day one, especially out there in California, and I know in
New York.
In New York, they've been very adamant about getting horse racing done. So we all believe, and we know that they're kind of an underlying figure in all of this. So how do you really battle the money when it seems like the horseman's just kind of fighting uphill and we're not really getting anywhere?
Yeah, and this is where this is where I was from the beginning. I always felt like the tracks needed to get together and determine themselves. Like, this is a set of the rules that the big tracks are going to follow. And then I feel like if you look at Stronach Group, for example, I think, love them, hate them, whatever your opinion is on them, they had a really bad problem they had a really bad PR problem a couple of years ago at Santa Anita when all the horses were dying. So what do? They became proactive, right? Because, again, maybe this has a lot to do with, when I went to school and so forth, but the way the market's supposed to work, at least the way I understand the market's supposed to work, that the business is supposed to accommodate the customer, right? And if the customer is not happy, then the business makes changes. Well, Stronach Group could see that the customer, the California customer, which also includes the government, the regulatory body, the California Racing Commission, they saw that customer wasn't happy. The horses were dying. They were not happy with the product. The fans were not happy with what was happening on the course because of the negative impact it had on the sport. So what did they do? They reacted. And they just coming off their most safest meet in 40 years by making changes. To me, I figure this is the way. If the customers aren't happy, whoever those customers are, they make it known. If the business is struggling, I think, this is my personal opinion, I feel like they said, you know what? Let's just throw it to HISA because we don't want to deal with it. So it was kind of a way for the folks not to have to deal with it, to make the problem somebody else's problems and hope they go away. And I just don't see it working out like that.
No, I don't see it going out like that either. Like I said, next week's going to be a very big week for racing around the country. And I really hope that, kind of these mom and pop operations that have been in the game for 20, 30, 40 years that strictly do this because they love the game. I just hope that it doesn't drive good people like that out because, like in everything, you're going to have bad apples and bad eggs in everything, whether that's racing, whether that's walking down the street or just whatever. But you got so many good people in this game that genuinely care for their horses, that wake up 3 o'clock every morning and go home at 9 o'clock at night, just taking care of their horses. That, man, it's just making it harder and harder for them to own their horses, for them to train their horses. That's the other thing. Gosh, these rules on working and training and entering and all this stuff and all these fees and fines. I mean, it's how does somebody afford it? I mean, God, not everybody's a billionaire.
My understanding is that most of the costs are going to be borne by the owners and by the trainers.
Well,
and
exactly.
As you say, small shop owners might not have the means to cover it. So I think you could see a lot of small people can end up like agriculture business or anything else. You might just have a bunch of what I would just say box store barns, right? Like the Walmarts and the Home Depots.
Your super trainers, basically. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And nobody else. So there won't be a lot of room for other people in the business. And that's the part that concerns me. And I think about the money's going to come from somewhere. And it always seems to me that the stop of most convenience is the better, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we're the degenerates to begin with. So, we're happy to bet as it is, but I got a feeling you're going to see some of the takes increase as well out of the pools, which could make horse racing even less competitive compared to sports betting. I hope I'm wrong about that, but it seems like the buck always ends where the buck begins.
Well, and that's the other thing, that for all these video conference calls or whatever that HISA has done for different racing commissions in different states, they've been asked multiple times by multiple people, where is your guys' funding coming from? Like, I mean, all of these fines and fees for owners, trainers, jockeys, everything, like, where's your guys' funding from? Where's HISA's funding come from? And we just get we'll get back to you. We'll let you know later. We'll get back to you. Well, we all know where it's coming from. And I asked them in the very first one, like all of our jockey fees. Okay, so first time you hit over one, it's like a $300 fine or whatever. And then after that, you lose your purse. Then you get fined this percentage and you're getting days and everything. And I asked them, I said, so it used to be before when a jockey would get fined, say $100, whatever, go to the stewards, give them a $100 bill. All right, you paid your fine, go home. So I asked him, I said, who are we writing these checks out to now? Like, because you guys are getting a hell of a Christmas bonus now. And they started laughing. Oh, we don't want to take your money. You know, we're not here to take anybody's money. But yes, the checks will be need to made out to HISA. It's like, so you guys are wanting to take our money. You know, like that's why you guys made all those fines so steep, because it's going in your guys' pockets.
Well, yeah, it's got to come from somewhere. And in the end, it's going to come from the customer, right? Because cost of doing business, economics 101, always passed on to the customer, right? At least the great majority of it. And that's going to be us. All right. Enough about HISA. Let's hope that there'll be some positive things. And one of the places there could be some positive stuff this year, I think we'll just start calling it Arlington Park West, right? I mean, or East, excuse me. Colonial Downs, it seems like it's the one that Churchill Downs has decided it's going to take the place of the now defunct Arlington Park. You know, basically the same sort of race dates that Arlington was at. Now they're going to benefit from that. A lot of big barns heading over to the Virginia course. And I think I read that the average purse size is going to be $600,000. Average day, not purse, $600,000. Any thoughts about going to Colonial Downs, Ty, to see if you can cash in on some of that money once you fill in your paperwork?
Man, I tell you what, Colonial would be the place for any rider to go and just chill out for, what do they run? I think a 6-week meet, something like that.
Like
it's not very long
days or something like that. Yeah,
it's not a very long meet, but man, a guy can go over there and really make some money. I know I looked up last year, Joe Rocco, good friend of mine. I think he ended up second, and I think he ended up winning just over 20 races, and I think he was just shy of $1 million in purses for just that short meet. So he really did well with the money that they have available, and also with the good money that they have. You know that rider colony is going to be deep. There's going to be a lot of helmets, and there's going to be a lot of quality riders. I mean, also new trainers they're going this year. I mean, now you got Larry Ravelli going there, Larry's always been a very prominent turf trainer in Chicago, and I mean, obviously a big Arlington guy himself. So yeah, I think that's going to be very deep, very competitive racing. That's going to be very exciting to watch this year.
And of course, you know, Graham Ocean is also, you know, known for his turf ability as well. So yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty good meet as well. They're just going to run Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday from July the 11th through September 7th. So there's 27 race days. Each day is about $600,000 in there. So I figure, you know, maybe you might think about heading up to Virginia there, Ty. Earn yourself 20 wins and $1 million in winning.
I tell you what, if I knew anybody in that way, I think I would definitely be picking up the phone and making some phone calls.
Very professional organization like Churchill. It was our wagering interest going to be great racing. I think it's going to be great racing too. And anybody up there maybe there's a jock agent that's got some good mounts looking for somebody. There's an owner, a trainer that wants a young, charismatic person to represent them. Now, he can come with the cowboy hat, as Joe Bravo prefers, or he can put on a baseball cap, which is how he started the show before we went live.
My phone is always on, so.
Absolutely. Hey, make sure you reach out. Now, Ty's a good guy, as you can see. All right, Ty. Well, that wraps up your first day subbing in for Shawn. Do you think we ought to keep him on vacation forever or what?
You know, he hasn't texted me or said that we've done a bad job, so I think we're doing all right.
Yeah, indeed, for sure. Well, I appreciate you filling in. You'll be back with us tomorrow. You're the one that scheduled all the guests. I don't even know who's coming tomorrow. Ty, who's coming? So
tomorrow we have an owner friend of mine. His name is Danny Caldwell. Danny Caldwell, leading owner at Prairie Meadows, Remington, Oak Lawn. Very, very prominent fixture there in the direct Midwest, and a very good guy. He's from Oklahoma, has a lot of horses in his name, so we'll have a lot to talk about. He's had a bunch of claiming horses as well as several good graded stakes horses as well, so it'll be a very exciting show tomorrow.
Fantastic. I'm looking forward to it. Tomorrow, Terry and I will be back at 12 o'clock to do our picks for Horseshoe Indianapolis. We did Parks today, and like halfway through the card, I wasn't sure if I looked at the right day because it was one of those days where you couldn't get nothing right. Finally got a little bit better in the second half of the card, but we'll see if we can do better tomorrow at Horseshoe Indianapolis. And then on Wednesday, we'll do Delaware Park. Looking forward to tomorrow night with Ty. Of course, we hope that no matter what you do you know how this ends, Ty?
You know, I've only been on the show once. I think you got to tell me.
So how it ends is I say, no matter what you do, you got to say, we hope that it ends up in, I think you probably know where that would go, right? in the winner's circle.
Yeah, we hope that it ends up in the winner's circle. We always hope that.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us tonight. Look forward to being back with Ty. Thanks again, Ty. See you tomorrow. Have a great night, everybody.
Yep. Have a good one, guys.